Why no videos anymore? Jeez, like, you want to sit down first? But yeah, when I'm opening my DMs on Instagram, my DMs are either asking for new videos or that. So, what happened? Oh, I'm going to tell you because this year right now is the first time that I'm really starting to feel the consequences of my own action. I need to briefly go back a bit to explain the problem that I'm currently in, but just a quick disclaimer. First, I'm not terminally ill and asking for money donations, and second, everything that I'm talking about has ultimately been my own decision and in that sense also kind of my own fault. The last thing that I want here is to have some pity party show. I just want to explain to you guys what's going on. Just quickly, in case you're new, hi, my name's Marcel. The fact that I don't have a face is normal, and this is how you spell my name, not this, and definitely not like that. And ever since I became an adult, I've published at least 1 or 2 books a year. Sometimes 1 book a year, sometimes 2 books, and up until now I've always done this myself. That means I've taken care of everything, making sure it got printed, marketing, distributing, everything online, and so on and so forth. But recently, things have been different. For the past 3 years, I've been working with a publisher. I did that because I've always wanted to release tutorial books. And those are the 2 books that you might know now. One's already available in English, and the other one, my anatomy books, coming in early 2026 in English. And it was super important to me to publish those with a publisher, because as you might know, when you release something with a publisher, it also appears in bookstores. And especially for books that are meant to teach you something, it's of course super important that as many people as possible can get their hands on them. That also worked out great. I've already seen messages from people using my books in many different countries, from school libraries to art studios that I personally know and admire. It's awesome. But of course, there's a catch to it. The thing with publishers always has one really big catch, and you can probably guess what that is. Money! I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell you exactly how much money I make per book. If you really care about it, I can check if I'm allowed to say it or not. But what I can tell you is that even if you make a bestseller, like I did in this case, you can't live off of that. Even if you have 2 really successful books, you still couldn't make a decent living from it. At this point, please remember what I said at the beginning. I'm not trying to play on anyone's emotions here or ask for pity or blame anyone. Like I already said, publishing books through a publisher was my own decision. I knew from the start that it wouldn't bring a lot of money, but as I mentioned, the main reason I went there in the first place was because I wanted tutorial books, you know, the ones that are supposed to help people, to be widely available in bookstores and multiple languages and countries. So knowingly, I bit the bullet twice. So it was a risk that I was willing to take, and honestly, I don't regret it all that much. Like I said, my 2 books have genuinely helped people, and that was, in the end, the main motivation. So even without much money involved, I'm kind of glad I did it. So now usually I plan my work about 3 or 5 years ahead, which means that when I made my first tutorial book, I already knew making the second one would probably be even more time consuming than the first. So for the next 3 years, I'd be making books for publishers and probably wouldn't expect to make much money from them. But after finishing those 2 books, I could finally start making books myself again. Without a publisher, without someone telling me what I'm allowed to include and what not in the book, and especially without someone taking the biggest cut of money. And this year is 2025. This year marks the 10th anniversary of my manga series. So that's what I've been working on for the past year and a half. I've been working on this manga for a year and a half now, like I said, and I can honestly say it's kind of reawakened something in me. I've had the time of my life working on it and poured myself into it like never before. If you want to have exact numbers, 260. I've drawn 260 full manga pages completely on my own since the beginning of last year. And you can probably put 2 and 2 together. That's a big part of why I haven't uploaded anything in such a long time. I mean, I've been to conventions and events and TV recordings and made workshops and stuff. And honestly, my last video also didn't perform at all. That's also a reason why I decided to pause uploading, because it just wasn't worth it anymore. But for the last year, I've almost done nothing else but get up in the morning, eat, draw, and go back to bed. I've made manga pages that made all of my old ones pale in comparison. Every page is filled with sweat, tears, and immense amount of effort. So now, let's get to the problem. Like I told you, over the past 3 years, I've made really little money with my work. So we're making a one-shot manga that has a self-contained story, released in German and in English, so we have a bigger audience. And since most of my English subscribers live in the US, that would work out great. Right? That should be more than enough to make up for the lack of money for the past 3 years. Right? While I was working on these manga pages earlier this year, there was already one big issue that was really giving me a headache. And said issue is blonde and has orange skin. You guessed it, I'm talking about the US tariffs. Even while I was drawing manga, the first reports started coming in that shipping to the US was becoming insanely expensive. Which is, you know, kind of a big deal, considering US makes up, what, like 80% of my audience or something. So yeah, that topic really gave me a headache until August of this year, when the final announcement came. The tariffs are here to stay, and Europe is stopping shipping to the US. And I think now you can understand my problem. A quick side note on that, for me it's absolutely not an option to sell my manga as a PDF, because I know exactly that the moment I sell my work as a PDF, it'll end up on the internet faster than me once I get free Wi-Fi. That already happened with my tutorial books, for example, even though the publisher assured me that this could never happen. And again, with my tutorial books, I don't even mind it that much. First of all, I don't get a lot of money from them anyway. And second, they're educational. And education shouldn't only exist for people who can afford it. So if a lot of people get access to that stuff, it's not really a terrible thing. But when you've been working for the past 3 years for very little money, and then you've spent 1.5 years working on a book, that book is not something that should end up on the internet for free. Anyway, the story continues because in the meantime, there's been a new press release from the German post office. Shipping goods to the United States is actually possible again, so all of my problems are solved and I can finally sleep peacefully at night again. Yeah, okay, that joke's getting old. The big obstacle right now is the DHL is currently only allowing big packages to be sent to the United States. Plus, for shipping a package to the US, you now have to pay an additional tariff fee. That means if I wanted to send a small package item, like a manga, to the US, we're talking almost 40 bucks in shipping. We tested it, it's almost 40 bucks. So I thought about maybe not printing that manga at all, even though it's completely finished and ready to print, and took me over 1 year to make it. That would be dumb. It just would be dumb not to print it at all. So I decided to check how many people would now actually buy that manga, especially if you're not from the US and don't have to sell a kidney in order to afford shipping. I've opened a Kickstarter. That's just the best way to check if it's worth spending the money on starting production, or if there's just not enough people outside the US that are interested. Just to be clear, you can also join in if you're from the US. Just be aware that shipping costs will be beyond ridiculous. The manga itself will be a complete change of scenery. We got really creative with the story. The manga is going to take place in Mexico on Dia de Muertos, the Mexican Day of the Dead, where the dead are allowed to return to Earth for 1 night in order to see their loved ones again. But the question is, what would happen if some creatures return to life that should have stayed dead? For that occasion, the Grim Reaper itself gathers a team of the greatest warriors in human history to fight back the waves of the undead. Amongst them are fallen samurai, war veterans, and knights, all historical figures that you might know. Like I said, the manga itself will be a self-contained one-shot finished in 1 volume, and I told my story writer to write it so you don't need to have any prior knowledge to enjoy it. On social media, I'll also be hosting another giveaway with a Draw This in Your Style challenge that everyone can join in on. Make sure you don't miss any of this. This will be my best work yet. Myth. Festival of Bones.
真夜中の鐘が鳴るとき、幕は引き裂かれ、死者たちが行進を始める。この日が来た。 10月31日、人間が死者と共に祝う日。ディア・デ・ムエルトス。人間たちよ、私は深く哀れる。本来ならばこうなるべきではなかった。